Hello, welcome to IBC Podcast, the podcast where we take news from around the world and debate them, bringing our own opinions into the situation as well as other people's that you may have never heard of. This week we're going to do something a little bit different, similar to one of our previous episodes. We're going to take a topic from the world that doesn't necessarily derive from the news, but is a big issue around the world. This week we are debating US gun laws and gun control, as well as gun deaths in the United States. So, the way these podcast goes, we're going to tell the others a stat, and we're going to debate that stat, basically. So I've got a stat right here. America has the weakest gun laws in the entire world, which is pretty obvious. But of their population of 321 million, 393 million guns have been purchased in the United States. What do you think of that?
Yeah, so that's a huge number. The fact is, when you look at American gun law in its entirety, is that it's a bit odd because America is they say they're the most developed nation, but there's parts of them that are not. They always look. If you look at it this way. They have plans to go to the moon in 2024. They have plans to land on Mars in 2030. They're all this advanced technology, they're inventing all this new stuff. But still, at home on planet Earth, there's still problems like this.
At the same time, they still have the death penalty. They still have guns.
They call themselves the best nation on Earth. So remember they used to say, America, the free land. No, it really wasn't.
Nah.
And this gun control is a huge thing in America. They're one of the only countries, or biggest. You think a Western country, they wouldn't have guns around anymore. England banned guns back in the 1960s, I believe.
70s, I think.
1970s. They were when they were completely banned throughout.
Yeah.
Guns have been banned since probably the 17th century in Britain, but it's completely banned in the 1970s. But still, if you just look at the statistics, do we have statistics for crime in the UK?
I'll get one up.
They always but how could I protect myself if someone comes and attacks me with a gun? I'd be like, but in the UK, if someone comes at you with a gun, you would wonder, how did they get their hands on the gun? Because it's not very easy to get your hands on a gun in the UK. It was completely outright illegal to have it in the first place. You have gun deaths in America, and they're like, but in England, how do you stop someone who's going to come and attack you with a gun? Well, nobody has a gun, so that's why we have no gun deaths. We have a lower crime rate for the pure fact is not everyone's walking around with an AK-47 in their hands.
Yeah.
I got statistics of myself. There's actually more gun stores than there are McDonald's in the US.
It's easier to buy a gun than a Happy Meal.
I know, it's easier to buy a gun than a Ronald McDonald Happy Meal. The golden arch.
It is actually comical, that. With the crime rate in the United Kingdom, so we banned guns in 1997. That's the year we banned them. Since then, the crime rate in this country has gone from about 110 per 1,000 people to 96.4 in 2020.
Well, there you go. There you go. Right there is the pure reason when you ban guns, it works. It really does work.
Yeah.
There's the fact is, I've said this many times with America, they have a thing. So when America gained independence, they created a thing called the amendments, basically almost off a little prior to, human rights, kind of a little hint towards that.
They're like main laws.
It was the way to govern a country so another country doesn't take you over. That's what that was around. Now, there's stuff in there that was written in the 17th century, 16th century. Stuff in there from the 16th century that was written.
Yeah,
there's stuff in there that is going to be completely incorrect. Now, the problem is, America, with their amendments, they don't like to change it. And in fairness to them, they built their country off these amendments. But with the gun law, they're like, but it's in the amendment that I can use a gun. No.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that completely. It's in the amendment to use a gun. It states you can have a gun against an oppressive government.
Yeah. In what was I going to say? Another case study of like people or a country who banned guns and their crime rate drastically dropped. Australia used to have like loads of mass shootings and all that, similar to the US. But then ever since they banned guns, they haven't had a single mass shooting in their since they banned guns. It's another example. If you take the weapon of choice away, people will not commit crime as much.
It's the way you have to look at this. It's America don't really develop, in my opinion. They take a long time to change it. I think in the future there will be gun control, but it's very built into people to own a gun. It is though a Doppler effect though. Buying a gun, one person buys a gun, the other person buys the gun, another person buys the gun, another person then buys a gun. Do you see what I mean? It constantly goes. They would buy, one person would buy a gun to protect themselves against person A who bought a gun. So person A, one person buys the gun, another person protects themselves against the person who bought a gun, so they buy a gun, that person does the same to the next, and the next, and the next. It's Doppler effect, it constantly keeps going.
Yeah, it's sort of the motto of like a lot of people in America. The way to stop guns from killing people is to have more guns. Just think of Fox News, for example. Every time there's a mass shooting, one of them always goes, "We need more guns to stop people from killing each other with guns," or something like that.
So
how does it actually solve it?
That's why it's still here. It doesn't solve it at all. Hence why they still have them. It's the difference between UK development compared to American development. Americans, like I said, built their country off amendments. UK didn't. They just built it off pure luck, almost. It's other countries. Majority of the countries nowadays don't have guns, and the crime rate is a lot lower. You're not going to buy a gun to protect yourself. That's just in the UK, because you can't first of all buy a gun, and there's no one to protect yourself too. We have knife crime, and they're like, but you have a higher rate of knife crime. How are you going to protect yourself? A knife is completely different to a gun.
With a knife, you have to go up to someone to stab
get
them.
Physical, and even then, it doesn't always kill you. A knife, yes, it can kill you. But you have more of a chance of surviving if you get stabbed with a knife than you do if you get shot with a gun sometimes. Because with the gun, it can bury into your skin almost, like right into your body, and it's hard to get out. With a knife, you might be able to clot the blood. So, and the difference is, you're more likely to have less deaths by guns. Less deaths by guns if you get rid of them in the first place, because if you can't get your hands on. Can we just also point out a figure? In the UK, in schools they have a procedure called a lockdown, same as in America. In America they have to practice a lockdown very often, kind of like a fire drill almost. Lockdown specifically for someone on the premises causing a threat. That's what they call it as. We all know mainly that is when someone's brought a gun onto the premises. In the UK that's never happened, hence why we've never done it, because for what we know, it's really hard to find a gun. This is how hard it is to get a gun. For example, if you work for the military or that, and you have an SA-15, assault rifle that can semi-automatic base assault rifle, for example. To be able to actually hold that, you would need a gun license, being trained by a professional person. You would need to then have it guarded at all times in a treasury, and claim full responsibility for its loss. They have to completely. It's really painful to own a gun in this country. In America, you just go down to your local shop and buy one.
Yeah, with that, I think it might be the Second Amendment, where the right to bear arms shall not be infringed. So these days, that means you can go to your local corner shop and get a machine gun. Whilst that law or amendment that was written in 1799, that was back when you had muskets that you had to put powder into it, and you had to do about 5 million different steps to be able to shoot one.
Yeah, and even then they didn't fire at the same rate. You were right with the Second Amendment. It protects the right to keep and bear arms. It's like with many things on it. Let's look at the First Amendment. Protects freedom of religion, freedom of speech, freedom of press, freedom of assembly, and the right to petition the government. But that never completely was enforced. You know, think of the civil rights movement. Freedom of religion, freedom of speech. That was never, like... Do you see what, there's Bill of Rights here. Yeah. That, you would think, why was that... Why, if they love their country so much, but Americans have come up, I think, with their own sort of thing. So it was 1789 where it was proposed and it was completed in 1791, and the same with the gun law. You can't take a gun from 1791, muskets with a bayonet on the end, that you had to load gunpowder in with one shot, compared to a semi-automatic AK-47. They just can't compare.
So, a bit of a social thing. Who actually needs a machine gun? Like, if you're in the military, sure, but if you're like a regular civilian, wouldn't just the regular handgun be enough? Why do you need a whole machine gun?
Even then, a gun's a gun. Why do you need one in the first place? And that's the same point. The Doppler effect, the constant. One person buys it, monkey see, monkey do. One person buys a gun, person A, the other person B follows because that guy bought a gun they want to take. It's just constant. It would never stop until you break the chain, which you can do. But they don't, and it's very hard. Change in America in the way of morals and how they govern their country takes decades to centuries almost. Slavery, that took about a century. Civil rights, that took about near enough about 4 to 5 decades. Guns are going to be centuries. They're such wired into people. It's really hard to change. But that's America for you. You can't.
Yeah.
It's just even. The thing is, even people in America believe they shouldn't people shouldn't have guns. So it's kind of the next generation almost. But it depends on where you've been brought up. The fact of what you think about guns. It's
because for some families, I've seen YouTube videos of some families giving 4-year-olds guns that are basically the same height as them and training them to use them, and you're just how is a 4-year-old even meant to understand the responsibility that comes with owning a gun?
So here's some facts for you. This is where American law's very shady. Federal law, so that's law of the highest government, says you can't have the possession of a handgun under the age of 18. You can drive at 16 guns. In America. You can drive at 16. You can have a gun at 18, but you can't drink until you're 21. You can fire an AK-47 and have possession of it, which is a weapon that can literally kill someone, before you can have a beer.
Says it all, really.
That just says it all.
Priorities everywhere for them.
And even then, I think parents personally, no offence, parents personally in America who give their children guns or are brought up to learn that guns should be shot on that, in a way, it's not really a good thing. Don't teach child, because when you're a child you learn stuff and you pick it up, hence why when you're a baby you won't know the language, but you'll learn the language and it's kind of wired into you. You can't change it, which you can't suddenly just forget English, for example. It will take time even then, but that's completely changed. When you're wired into do something which you learn as a young age, you would think about it all your life. If you're giving a 4-year-old or even someone under 10 them views on guns, they're going to take them views throughout their whole entire life and then tell their children it's a Doppler effect again. They're going to keep on going until someone breaks the chain. But there's always going to be guns in America, I think. America is an odd nation, to be honest. Like, you don't have a Bill of Rights, that they like to call it, or the amendments, the list of amendments in the UK, making it easy to change stuff. An amendment was created to stop stuff, but it wasn't created very well to be able to keep up with the modern days. That's the problem with amendments. You can have these things, and I see why they made it hard to change. So then people, like government, doesn't come in and try and change them all. But they didn't future-proof it, I don't think. For example, there was some restricts the quartering of soldiers in private homes.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't do that anymore. It's even then there's stuff on here like defined citizenship contains the privileges of immunities clause, the due process clause and the equal protection clause, and deals with post-Civil War issues. Now that was written around the Civil War times. The last ever amendment to be created recently, it was brought up in 1789, so proposed the idea, but only confirmed in 1992. 2 centuries after they proposed it, they actually created it as a law. And that was delays laws affecting congressional salary from taking effect until after the next election of representatives. But if it was a law that was proposed years ago and they suddenly do make it, because it's really easy to make an amendment almost. It seems really easy to make an amendment, but to get rid of one is a lot harder. Now, in my way of amendments, I think people should vote. Now, not go against the people who wrote these amendments, but I think they should review these amendments every so often. Let's say every 50 years, they review the amendments. Now, a way to decide it, they do a vote. As they are the head of the democracy, they should do a vote on these amendments. And stuff like gun control, people can personally vote on. And if they see more people do not want guns in the US, they should get rid of it.
Yeah, that would, that would completely swing politics in the US. Problem with that is that a lot of laws that are bad, mostly in America, a lot of them are just kept there because of corporations pay a lot of money for it. Think sort of car dealerships in America. The reason why they exist is because corporations, practically bribe governors to keep them there. Same with gun laws. Same with having to pay thousands for healthcare.
What I don't think people realise is that a gun is a weapon. It's been designed to kill someone. That is the sole purpose of a gun, to kill someone. It's done that for a specific reason. Guns in the military, yes, makes sense, because someone's going to come and attack you in the military. Guns as a personal weapon, and bear in mind, a lot of people in America collect these as collections. It's a liability almost to own a weapon. You're putting so much power in one person. There's been so many case studies. For example, I looked at one. Now, you've got to kind of see the size of this. It's quite a debatable one. This son killed his father with a gun. Just in just one bullet killed a man. One single bullet killed a man. Right? And the child probably didn't even know what he was doing. It's the way we push on the children, the way they push on the children, the way they should think about weapons, and that would just make it not change. Like I said, guns are bad. They should not really have them, in our opinion. This is coming from someone from Britain. It's quite hard to say, as we never grown up with guns, but it's a thing they need to. I think they should have a look at. And stuff like the Capitol storming. Imagine if all them protesters had weapons in the form of guns. That is then infringing the government, and that's not good. Because you're now taking a gun right into the capital and the heart of democracy and shooting it up, which, in the think about it, is going against the amendment.
Something which they try desperately to keep, which is it's very contradictory, as well as what you said about. I completely agree. Guns, they're literally designed to murder people, and the fact that someone could literally just have 40 of them just laying about in their home
and
as collectibles in big quotation marks.
People, the fact is, it's a shop.
Crazy.
It's like you can just go down to your local shop. It's like going down to the grocery store. Instead of buying an apple to feed you and nourish you, for example, you're buying a weapon that can literally end someone's life. Or not even one person's life. You're buying a weapon that can end thousands of people's lives. Just in the blink of that. Imagine if America went to anarchy. Everyone would have a weapon. It would be horrible to be there. Shooting, firing, it would literally be like the Wild West. No wonder they had a Wild West. I don't think they should have.
Honestly, it's actually mad that, such a developed country does this,
Yes.
And what do you say to it, really? Just can't really do much. Like, do you think, with 393 million guns in the US for 321 million people, when in the future, if gun laws don't get stricter, when do you think would be the point where it's too late? Where there'd be too many guns in circulation, you just can't take them away?
In my opinion, it's already been and gone. Been and gone long ago. I don't think this is ever going to change. They're always going to have guns and it's always going to be bad. But there is a hope for change. But I think the time for a change has already gone. There's no turning back now. There's too many people with guns, too many views. America is such a... Like I've said, they're planning to go to the moon again. They think they're so advanced, but in the way of morals and actual stuff like guns, they're completely behind on stuff like that, and I think that's stuff they need to look at personally. But that's my views on gun controls in America. I don't think they should have them, and a lot of people agree with me. I don't think guns, but on the other side, I can see why people have them, and I can see why people want them, because they've been taught stuff that you should have them. But personally, I don't think you should, and I think you're a liability to yourself and others. A higher crime rate in your country, and they always wonder, well, I wonder how this happens. We're just like, look at your guns. That's the reason you have a higher crime rate. And I was watching this interview. It was after, I believe, a school shooting in Florida. They got a person up, and this person was literally saying guns should still be around, and they gave her a reason. And I think it may have been in This Morning thing, and because it was an interview almost across the world, they had to cut it because what the guy was saying was absolutely absurd, and he was saying that some of the statistics he came up with were complete and utter rubbish. They were never true. And he was kind of saying that if the UK had guns, they would have a same crime rate. No, our crime rate is lower for the pure fact we don't have a gun that can kill you instantly. Knives are bad. He kind of was almost saying that knives are worse than guns. which in the way is complete and utter rubbish. You're more likely to kill someone with a gun than you are a knife if you get given one.
Yeah.
Anyway, they're my views on that.
Yeah. I think both of us have seen this YouTube clip of a grandfather who taught their granddaughter a gun is no different from a lawnmower.
Yeah.
How are they no different? People who are completely insane enough to go to a school and kill a bunch of people? What do they take a lawnmower with them and just mow the kids to death? Like, what do they do? How is that? How are they the same?
Yeah, I can't compare. If you think about anything's a weapon, but there's different severities of killing with a weapon. It depends how you use it. Everything's a weapon, but it depends how you use it. You can use it in a weapon, or you can use it as what it's supposed to be used for.
Yeah, with a gun, it's pretty much everything that exists in this world. Most of it's a thing that it can kill people. With guns, they're literally designed to kill people. That's their sole purpose. They have no other purpose other than to kill people. And to have them just lounging around in this country and just firing off whenever by people who are completely insane, it's all over the place, really.
Yeah.
Alright, any last thoughts?
No, I think you said it all, to be honest.
Okay, well, very interesting talk there. One of many in IBC Podcast. To everyone who has been watching, we hope you enjoyed this. And on behalf of myself, Lewis, and everyone here at the IBC, we wish you all a very good day. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.